first thing you would do would be call the police. Hi, my wife just died. I think she's not breathing. Maybe I need an ambulance. Let me
call 911. Yeah.
Take her down into the basement with my children still in the home. And I don't even want to say the words now. Do this to their mother. Welcome to The Dive, the official podcast of Wavestream Media. I'm Cee Cee.
And I'm Mark. We're the founders of Wavestream. And this is where we slow down, talk it out, dive into the stuff that deserves a little more airtime.
One topic, one story, or one person per episode. Whether it's something we're building, something we're questioning, or something we just can't stop thinking about.
Let's dive in.
So, this episode I've already titled, which I never title episodes before they're already done and edited. But this episode is titled, Just Get a Divorce. Because I've never encountered people who thought that they should get a divorce and did, and then were less happy than they were before.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like we've got a pretty killer episode lined up for everybody today.
Okay, that might have been a little... I see what you're doing there.
But, it's crazy because, like, we actually used to work on a divorce podcast. And so I feel like we've heard a lot of, like, the stories and, like, the behind the scenes of this, topic before.
Yeah, well, kind of not. This is a criminal episode, but all of these things could be avoided had the people just got a divorce. So everybody knows I'm in school. I feel like that has come up in the last couple of episodes. We all get it. You're in school. Haha. LOL. So fun. Well, the other thing that I love to do in addition to being in law school, which love may be a strong word for that, but the other thing that I love to do is watch court. Like watch court all day, every day, 8 hours worth of court.
Yeah.
If they're live streaming, whatever it is, whether it's a high profile trial or some random court in Arkansas, I'm watching court. I'm having a great time. I just love it in there.
Yeah. And it's IRL drama of the highest caliber.
It sure is. Other people's business who I know and probably or don't know and never will meet, all out on display. Mm-hmm. So today we're going to talk about 3 pretty high profile cases that have taken place, have gone to trial, or are currently at trial. The last one we're going to cover is like they're in court right now as we're recording this, as we're speaking. So that's pretty exciting.
And just for the folks at home, I don't know anything about court. Like, I very much do not keep up with any sort of like trial court. I don't really listen to like a lot of true crime. Like, I've of course listened to and like watched true crime in the past, but like, it's the sort of thing that like my parents were really into, like, First 48 and stuff like that when I was growing up. So it was always just sort of something that I was like, yeah, I mean, it's for them, but it's not for me. But it doesn't mean that I don't like it. It's just not really like what I spend all of my time doing. So this should
totally
be like,
fair.
This should be like a good episode because it's kind of just like we pitched the idea first as like, let's just talk about something that I don't have any knowledge of like at all, right?
Yes, but then a theme I found quickly emerged, and so I think you're going to find this to be interesting. Like I said, 3 cases that have gone to trial or are at trial in the last 3 months where people are either accused or have been convicted of killing their spouse. Yeah. Or let me say that, unaliving their spouse. Maybe cut the last one out.
Sure.
I'm censoring myself for the internet in this episode, something I said I would never do, but we're talking about unalivings here. So I also want to say we, of course, want to be respectful because ultimately in these cases, someone, and one of them, 2 people, died, which is incredibly... It's sad when this could have so easily been avoided. But at the same time, the way that the actions that people took sometimes are a little bit ridiculous. And I think that will become clear as we get more into it.
Absolutely. And of course, everyone's innocent until proven guilty.
Yes. And the first 2 we're going to talk about have, in fact, been proven guilty.
Nice.
So we can talk about them like they did it because in the eyes of the law, they certainly have. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So the first one we're going to talk about started going to trial back in November. Conviction was eventually in December. This is in Norfolk County, Massachusetts.
All right.
Which I don't know, probably not. If you ever saw anything about Karen Reed, she was accused of her boyfriend, who's a Boston cop, during a blizzard, essentially, leaving him in the yard to die of another Boston cop's house. It was a lot. And then there was a lot of questionable things happening with the cops. There's been fallout with that since that trial, the second trial, because it was a mistrial first. Second trial happened last summer. But this is in the same county. So we got a lot of the same players and some of the same people who are also kind of shady. Unfortunately for Mr. Walshe, not even the shade of the Norfolk County Police Department could cover the things that he did in this case. So
right.
Brian was married to Anna Walshe, and he had a federal case against him at the time for selling fake Warhols on eBay.
Okay.
So he was trying to figure out whether he was going to go to prison for the Warhol scandal of it all.
So he's selling like fake art?
Yes.
Okay.
Fake. It's an art fraud case. Yeah.
That's
crazy. He's kind of got that looming over him. His wife, Anna, has bought a townhouse in D.C., and she's working for Tishman Speyer there. And she's kind of commuting back and forth. They have children as well. Mm. And she's thinking about bringing the children with her. Like, all signs are kind of pointing to they're getting a divorce, right? Until it's New Year's Eve, December 31st, 2022, going into 2023. They have a friend over at their house. They're celebrating New Year's Eve together. He leaves. The last time any activity is found on Anna's phone or anything like that is around like 3 or 4 in the morning.
Right.
Well, he says, she had to go back for a work emergency in D.C. Also, let me pause here and say, all of this is from notes that I made and also my memory from watching the court. So if any details are not 100% correct, mind your business. They're close enough to get the point. So he's like, she had to go back for a work emergency in D.C., which she managed properties. So like, it's January 1st. What could the emergency be that would send her back? Well, January 4th, he and Tishman Speyer report her as missing. Mm-hmm. They go to her house. They can't get in the house. They can't find her. They have no idea where Anna is. He did several interviews with police after that, talking about like, well, this is what happened. You know, we spent New Year's Eve together. She woke up early. She said she had to leave. He brings in their son for whatever reason. He said that she told our son goodbye and she left, and I don't know, took an Uber to the airport. Well, nobody can find evidence that she ever took an Uber or a plane flight, I think is the word that I'm looking for, or took a flight.
Yeah.
And she was supposed to leave on January 4th. That flight never happened. Well, then he gets charged on January 8th with misleading the police into her disappearance, like, because he's clearly not helping and kind of sending them in all different directions. Skipping further down, he's seen on video going to lots of different dumpsters and disposing things.
Love that.
All different locations, including one at his mom's apartment complex. There's this knife found above the fridge that is like, looks like it had been bleached. It's like a kitchen knife.
Right.
And there are searches on multiple devices of his, including his son's iPad, because I guess he used his son's iPad in this research that he was doing. How long before a body starts to smell? And the best ways to dispose of a body. Can you be charged with murder without a body? So he's searching all kinds of things up.
Yeah.
He's seen at Home Depot and Lowe's and different stores, gathering cleaning supplies and doing all these types of things. Meanwhile, he's technically still on house arrest for the art fraud case. So he's only allowed to leave the house to like go to the grocery store, to take his children to and from daycare,
essentials
like
type stuff. Yeah.
But he's out doing all kinds of different things that don't seem suspicious or
taking
weird
out the
at
trash,
all.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, which is terrible. They never found her. So
and I'm starting to piece together why they might not have found it.
Yeah, absolutely. So they charged him with murder, obviously, and improper conveyance of a human body. And he initially pled not guilty to all of that. Then, just before his trial started, he changed his plea to guilty for the smaller charges, the charges of misleading a police investigation and improper conveyance of a human body. But he maintained his innocence on the murder charge. I honestly, everybody was speculating, like, why would he do that? Maybe he thought that if they didn't have to prove those things, then maybe they wouldn't bring as much evidence in that made him look really bad and guilty. I don't know what he was thinking. But his theory was this, like, sudden, unexplained unaliving. That's what they kept saying. Like she suddenly,
like she's a child in a crib.
Yeah, but like she was in bed asleep, like totally healthy. She did bar, which I do bar. I love bar. And one of her instructors came, and everybody just attested to the fact like she was so healthy. Like she was relatively young, early 40s, I believe. Like there was no reason for this to happen to her, but his theory was she was in the bed. She had this sudden, unexplained unaliving. And then he like nudged her. He kept saying that he would nudge her. Well, he didn't say anything because he was supposed to testify and then he didn't. But his attorney, with the idea that he was going to testify, brought this in, which was kind of improper since he later didn't. But whatever, moving on. He said he nudged her and like she rolled off the bed. And like he didn't know what to do because he was already in trouble with art fraud and nobody would ever believe him that this wasn't his fault. And so that is why he dismembered her and got rid of her.
Yes. I mean, as one does, it's just a logical conclusion to come to when your wife just suddenly passes away, in an unexplained fact. Like, look, I am not an expert in the law, nor am I an expert in biology. But I imagine,
me neither.
I imagine that like if something like this was like a sudden and unexplained occurrence,
would you not be freaking out?
Exactly. Like, sure, of course I'd be freaking out like if something like that happened, but I would be like, if you were worried about like the criminal implications, like wouldn't that stuff come out in the autopsy? Like it'd be like, oh, she obviously wasn't poisoned or stabbed or dismembered. So like, of course, sure. Yeah. I mean, maybe it doesn't look great, but like they couldn't prove anything. Right?
Yes.
And so at that point, you have to live with whatever consequences or whatever feelings you had in that moment. But ultimately, like, it seems like just such a crazy thing.
Seems like the first thing you would do would be call the police. Hi, my wife just died. I think she's not breathing. Maybe I need an ambulance. Let me
call 911. Yeah.
Take her down into the basement with my children still in the home. And I don't even want to say the words now. Do this to their mother and then dispose of her in such an like inhumane and disrespectful way.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is crazy.
It's a very sad case, but it is ridiculous the way that he truly believed that if he had said, well, she just died on her own, then everything would be okay.
It's also crazy to think that you would search these absolutely insane things and like
think that people can't find them?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that you will see happens often. People love to search things and it comes back to bite them. None of this, by the way, also is legal advice. Do whatever you want. I can't give you legal advice. But
simply conversational analysis of court cases.
If you think that you can do anything on the internet and people can't figure it out, wrong. Wrong. And also don't tell ChatGPT stuff either, because that is, people can find that too. So anyway, that is Brian Walshe. So he was December 15th found guilty of first-degree murder of Anna and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Yeah. So did this case get any kind of like snappy name, or just like the Walshe case, I suppose?
I think this one was really just the Walshe case. I don't think there was no name for this that I feel like could feel appropriate given the gravity. I think the grayness of what happened.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like to hear it, is one thing, but to like really think through it, it's like, wow, it is insanely graphic. It is.
And it's very sad for her family and for her children.
Absolutely.
And like, if they had just gotten a divorce, like, again, I'm going to say that so many times.
It could have been so simple.
This next one was given a name. And this ended, I want to say, not last week, maybe 2 weeks ago. So this trial is about Brendan Banfield. And this took place in Fairfax County, Virginia, which was the same place that, you remember the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial from many years ago?
I remember that.
So same place, same judge, actually. Oh, wow. Her name is Judge Ascarati, Judge A. I love her. She was a Marine. She's an icon. She's a legend.
Nice.
She runs her courtroom in a very nice, respectful, but tough and firm way. Yeah. And if I could be anybody, I think I'd pick her.
Sounds like a street.
Yeah. But this was called the Au Pair Affair trial. That's what everybody started referring to it as, which I think does kind of give you a clue of where this is going.
Mm-hmm.
this all takes place. Well, the unalivings, because there's 2 in this case, took place on February 24th of 2023. So I'm looking, a little over 3 years ago now. So Brendan Banfield was an agent with the IRS, which I think is just a very random fact, but it's important later.
Yeah, it's like kind of the most milquetoast of like
of
average
agents.
salaryman type jobs, you know?
Yeah, but he was a special agent. He had a gun, which like I don't know why you're supposed to have
A gun if you're like a tax agent.
right. Like you didn't fill out your W-9 correctly. Like,
come on.
I didn't know that IRS agents could have that, but anyway. He was convicted of aggravated murder, which is like first-degree murder, but there's some sort of aggravated circumstance, like premeditation, things like that.
Yeah.
So to start at the beginning, he and his wife hired an au pair to raise their daughter.
Yeah.
And her name was Juliana Perez Magalhães, and she was from Brazil. And she lived, au pairs live in the house. It's like a nanny who comes from another country who it's like an experience for them and whatever. So she was the nanny to their daughter. And after, I don't remember how long they said, after however long that they were there, they started having an affair, as the name suggests.
Right.
So one of the attorneys that I love to watch do commentary for court, name is Emily D. Baker. She's queen, but she calls this like a baby, I love you type of murder is what she always says. And this is exactly what it was. So they begin this relationship, and he's kind of like, baby, I love you. Everything would be perfect if it wasn't for Christine, but I don't want to go and have a divorce because I don't know why, but he literally said that I don't want to go through a divorce, which like, again, why? But he's like,
it seems like the simple answer to all of your problems.
He's like, I don't want to go through this whole process of a divorce. And so they come up with a plan where they are going to stage a home invasion gone wrong. And so they create an account on a website called FetLife, which is like a fetish website. And they create this account for Christine, and they start talking to people on there. And what their plan is, and what ends up happening, is they find somebody to come. They say that she has this, again, graphic. Maybe we should put a trigger warning at the beginning of this episode. This fantasy of being assaulted by like somebody breaking into their house.
Wow.
And so they tell them, come to the house. I'll be asleep. Bring a knife and like come in. So they stage this whole thing. They find somebody. A lot of people, of course, are like, this doesn't feel
we're
quite
already
right.
getting into like insane territory.
Yes. They're like, I feel like, can we talk? Like, could we meet up first? Like, consent, people, is very important. So they're like, let me try to get consent, and people don't want to give it. Well, they find this guy named Joseph Ryan, and they have a phone call with Christine, but it's really Juliana, the au pair, on the phone pretending to be Christine and like talk through the whole plan. And so they finally found their person, and they said she would pretend to be asleep, and it would be this consensual like BDSM, I don't even know type of deal. And they arranged for Brandon started changing this will happen in the morning, started changing his morning routine. So he would like go to places near the house and get breakfast before. And Juliana was supposed to take their daughter to the zoo. And so they were supposed to be gone, but they had like this whole plan of how everything was going to work.
So, and the plan was they're just not going to be there. And then somebody online that they've talked into beating up his wife is just going to come and do that? Like,
wrong.
This is crazy.
So they're supposed to be going to the zoo.
Okay.
But they're not going to have left yet. They're going to stage it as Brendan is the savior, is going into the house to save her from this person who's broken in the place and is trying to assault his wife.
Okay.
And he is going to unalive Joseph Ryan, who is the person that they're essentially trying to hang this whole thing on anyway. So they want it to look like Joseph Ryan unalived Christine. And when he saw Joseph Ryan hurting Christine, Brendan, who had just broken into the house to be the savior, then killed unalived Joseph Ryan.
Okay.
Do you understand now? It's a little bit convoluted.
Right. So so it's like they are going to unalive the wife, and then this guy comes in, and then they basically pin it on him.
The plan is, the order is not as important, but yes, the whole plan is dependent on Joseph Ryan.
Yes, okay.
Who is a totally random person.
This is somebody they met online who
has no connection to them whatsoever.
Who is, in theory, Joseph Ryan thinks that he is going to this person's house to perform like a consensual sexual act, basically, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, which I think
this is nuts.
It is.
This is nuts.
It is nuts, and I think it makes it worse for me too that a stranger is involved. Like, I think every one of us can, even if we don't understand it, we can accept that people get in relationships and do terrible things.
Yeah.
You know? But when there's a stranger involved, like a complete rando who's just kind of like unalived as a means to an end of what you want, it just feels like even colder and more egregious. I don't know why that part really I found bothers me. Yeah, it does. It aggravates it. So I forgot to mention they wanted it to look like Christine was on FetLife, you know, trying to find these people. So they would like use her devices. They would only do it when she was at home. Like, they really tried to stage it to make it look like it was her, right? So then the morning of it comes, he tells her that he has an important meeting at work, at the IRS, I guess. I don't know. He has an important meeting at work that day, and he's going to go to his important meeting, and that Juliana and their daughter are ready to go to the zoo. So they're getting in the car to go to the zoo, and then she's like going back to sleep. She's like an ICU nurse or a NICU nurse or something like that. So I'm sure she's tired after doing nurse things. That's a job I can never do.
Right.
And so she goes back to sleep. They leave. Brendan goes to McDonald's, which I love McDonald's breakfast, but he like goes to the McDonald's. He gets his food. He sits in the car. He eats his breakfast. He goes inside. He uses the bathroom. He's there for a while.
Yeah.
Well, Juliana and their daughter are just sitting outside of the house waiting to see Joseph Ryan pull up. And so Joseph Ryan gets there. Juliana calls and says, hey, he's here. They all go into the basement they put the dog in the basement. This is all taking place too with their daughter in the house as well.
Oh.
So this is similar to the last one. So she's down there in the basement by herself while Brendan and Juliana go upstairs to the master bedroom. They see Joseph Ryan and Christine, and he takes the knife and he stabs Christine. And he shoots Joseph Ryan, but doesn't unalive him. And then Juliana shoots Joseph Ryan at point blank range. And then, this is the other thing. Christine's saying to Juliana, call 911, call 911. She does. And then she's like going, cut it, you know, like don't do that.
Yeah.
So then she hangs up and doesn't call again for another 15 minutes after I guess they gotten all their stuff done. The reason that we have this much information is because Juliana flipped. She testified and she said everything. She took a deal with the state to tell everybody everything about everybody's business. So that's how we know so much of what happened, because it came directly from Juliana.
Source,
yeah. So later he testifies, because I think if it weren't for Juliana, things could have been a little bit harder. But she was arrested first, and then he wasn't arrested until I want to say like a year later. And his mom had been like paying for Juliana's attorney and for her contact with like the smart jail mail to talk to her family back in Brazil. And like when he got arrested, all that kind of stopped. She had no support. She was like, he's gonna try to pin this all on me, because he's tried to pin it on other people before already.
Right.
So she flips. And then so he really kind of has no choice but to testify, to try to say like Juliana's a liar. She just took a deal and would say anything they wanted her to not be here anymore. But his testimony was very bizarre, because he kind of had this like obsession with being tall. Like he kept bringing up that he was tall.
Oh, okay.
That's weird. No, not like sitting tall. Like he was mentioning that he was tall.
That's so weird.
And like mentioning that he had a lot of friends. It was just very strange.
So he's like trying to be like one of those like, oh, well, you know, my dad works at Nintendo, like the cool kid at school. And he's trying to like talk about stuff that like doesn't really matter.
Yeah, because he was like,
tall people don't talk about being tall.
No, they don't. They don't. And on like, it was his birthday, like either the day after all of this happened or the day before, I can't remember. So he and his daughter were that night supposed to go to New York from Virginia, because I guess they're from New York, to celebrate his birthday with his friends, because he had lots of friends and he could see over things because he was very tall. Like, it was just weird. It was just giving like, this is not what you should be focused on right now. Anyway, and they also, after all of this happens, they call the police. They're like, their plan is kind of working for a while, right? But then later, and this part is crazy to me, later, the police, they're at a hotel because they can't get back to their house. So they're at a hotel, and the police overhears the daughter asking Juliana if she can call her mommy now. Just like weird, very much not feeling right. It just doesn't, none of it feels right. There. Yeah. And keep in mind, she was in the basement with the dog the whole time while her mother was upstairs.
Getting stabbed.
Yep, exactly.
Oh my God.
It's so egregious. And so, as a condition of her plea deal, Juliana pled guilty to involuntary manslaughter, which is like a crazy thing to be dropped down to when she admits to shooting Joseph Ryan at point blank range. That was a tongue twister. But she pleads to that. And the state, or the Commonwealth, as it is in Virginia, suggested to the judge that she get time served for that, which was crazy. And the public was very upset about that. And I'm like, I mean, they have the power to make whatever kind of suggestion that they want, but she got 10 years for her role. And then he was convicted February 2nd. I have the date in here, so that's when it happened, of aggravated murder. And that's that, because I don't know how.
He hasn't been sentenced yet?
No.
Okay.
They have to do all kinds of other stuff, but no.
Well, that is like, I mean, it's just a nuts.
It is.
Like, when I'm thinking about it, it's one of those things where I like going through the step by step. First of all, like the climax of the story is just crazy. Like it's a stabbing and a shooting with a daughter in the basement.
And I truly believe that he thought he was so tall and smart and had so many friends, and that he was an IRS agent and he knew how to investigate things because for whatever reason, IRS agents have a gun, like several different, I don't know. I think he thought he was smart enough that he could just stage it like this and it was the perfect plan and nobody would ever know. I really, truly think that.
Look, I mean, at the end of the day, I love you, baby only gets you so far.
Yeah, baby,
and you
I love you.
Yeah, baby, I love you. You have to, you know, I don't know. I feel weird saying this, but I'm tall.
You are? Wait, how many friends do you have?
That's a weird question. But I've never thought about unaliving my partner. Like, this is just insane behavior. Honestly, the two things that stand out to me the most about this are, again, the climax. This is like some crazy, like, you know, AAA movie type stuff right here.
It is.
And then, like, the plan to basically pin it all on this guy, like, dupe this guy.
I know.
And it's like, it's such a crazy thing in the sense of, like, I'm sure that they felt, like, so smart about it because it's like, this is like somebody who is like probably like, I don't know, like I imagine with like a fetish website, like there's some amount of like, you know, shame because like society puts a lot of shame on people who have like any sort of like non-standardized, you know,
or even people who do have standardized if it's in public.
Exactly. Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And so like, I'm sure that they felt like this was like somebody who they could like absolutely get away with pinning it on and like going on like her devices and stuff to make it seem like it was all, oh my God.
Yeah, it was brutal. But it was like little things like, well, everybody went out of town. They went to New York, the daughter and the au pair and Brendan, they all went to New York. So Christine is home alone and she's not on there. Don't you think if you were on this fetish website hiding it from your partner, and apparently they'd both had affairs. That's something Brendan said too. I don't know. But don't you think if you were doing that, you would do it when nobody was home? But she didn't because it likely wasn't her behind the device.
Right.
Yeah. Or as Juliana said, it wasn't her behind the device. So.
Well, I mean, a divorce sure would have like solved a lot of problems here.
Yeah, I think it would. And I still do not know in what world where he said bar for bar that he didn't want to get a divorce. He didn't want to go through the process of a divorce. Does he think now that maybe sounds a little bit easier than everything that he experienced this time?
Oh, I mean, look, that sounds way easier. Like the lawyer's going to do everything for you.
Yeah, it was intense. So that's Brendan Banfield. bless him, I guess. I
Yeah,
don't
the
know.
au pair affair is what you call it.
The au pair
The au pair affair
trial.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was a good one. Like, I was not prepared for something that intense.
It is intense, but just wait, because this one
Oh.
that's going on now currently as we speak.
So we're saving the best for last is what you're saying.
I mean, this one is still ongoing. So everything as it goes to Kouri is alleged, because we don't have any answer to that. But there is a lot of stuff going on, and there's multiple cases going on. Have you heard of like the Murdochs, Alec Murdoch?
It sounds familiar.
So he was a South Carolina attorney. He pled guilty to taking a bunch of money from a bunch of people that like he shouldn't have been able to, misappropriating the funds of all kinds of people. And so during that case, they were like kind of bringing in the financial stuff and the unaliving at the same time. Well, this is very similar to that, because there's a lot of financial crimes going on, as well as Kouri Richins, which is the first girl of all of this.
Okay.
Who is accused of killing her husband.
Okay.
So
what do we got?
Where to start with this one? So Kouri was a flipper, I guess, for lack of a better word. You know, the people who like buy a property and like flip it, and sell
like, clean
it
it up
in
and
for
sell
more.
it, yeah.
So
The people like landlords, like they're like painting over everything.
Yeah, kinda. Yeah. And she actually at one point was somewhat of a landlord, because she had this property that she was going to put her bestie in, and her bestie and her family and her children all moved in there. And it was like a rent to own situation, which again, none of this is legal advice, but if somebody tries to put you in a rent to own situation, run as far as possible. There's never a time where rent to own actually works out, especially a house. So they put her in this house, and Kouri's like, well, I'll pay the mortgage. You just pay me. I'll pay the mortgage. Bestie gives her like $45,000. House gets foreclosed on because Kouri doesn't pay. Bestie gets kicked out of the house. Like, that's just kind of tip of the iceberg for how we go. So she's got like millions of dollars worth of debt that she can't service, which I think a Ponzi scheme is like when you take money from one place to put it in another, and like it just kind of keeps going. It's giving Ponzi scheme. It's giving, I will take more of this debt to pay towards this debt, to like everything is falling apart. And now like I'm $4.5 million in debt. Like, that's a lot of debt.
But if it was just Ponzi scheme, you know, I think that things would probably still be relatively okay in the grand scheme of things.
Well, things were not relatively okay. Kouri was running out of money, to put it simply.
Owed a lot of money to a lot of people.
Yes. Kouri was also having an affair.
Okay, fun.
Yeah, which also apparently always happens. I don't know why. So she was having an affair, and she booked tickets at one point after her husband's death for her and her partner to like her affair partner to go on a vacation together. At that point, her husband's still alive. So it's like, where did you think your husband was going to be when you were supposed to be doing that? You know? But anyway, so I want to say it's Valentine's Day. I don't know. Like I said, I don't have as much information because this is all still coming out.
Yeah.
So I want to say it's Valentine's Day the first time. She gets him an egg sandwich from a diner and laces it with fentanyl. For what we know, allegedly laces it with fentanyl, because that wasn't ever really tested. It's just theorized that that's the case. So then he eats the sandwich, obviously, and he gets sick because it's laced with fentanyl. It is sat out for a couple of hours. So like the defense has been loving to argue, like, who just leaves an egg sandwich sitting there for a few hours and like doesn't eat it? Of course it made him sick.
Look, I mean, that is crazy behavior.
I think I eat things slowly. So I could say I eat half of an egg sandwich. Maybe it's 40 minutes later, I still have more egg sandwich that I haven't eaten yet.
If that's the case, that's fine. But
you think leaving it out for an extended period of time just generally is too much?
Well, I mean, I think basic food safety is like when you're eating like
you would know this, actually.
When you're eating like a cold food or like a food that's been cooked to temp, like you obviously you want to eat it right away. But basically there's like a temperature danger zone, basically above 40 degrees, but below like 120 degrees. Don't at me on that. I get that a little bit wrong. But there's a temperature danger zone where like bacteria and like, you know, that sort of stuff breeds, right? And
so that's the defense's theory.
And so usually, like, if I was going to eat an egg sandwich, like, I might eat some, and if it's like a half hour later and I'm still eating it, that'd be fine. But if it's been sitting out for like an hour or two, that's the point where it's like, I don't know if this is a good idea. It doesn't mean that I haven't done it.
Right.
But I wouldn't recommend it.
Yes. Don't risk it. Well, he risked it. The defense, like I said, is arguing exactly what you said. It was out there for hours. Of course he got sick. But the prosecution is like, well, there was drugs in it. Of course he got sick.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what we know of the first attempt. And she's getting these drugs allegedly from her housekeeper who had a previous problems with the law and drugs.
Yeah.
And so she's procuring these from them. Well, after the incident with the egg sandwich doesn't work out in theory, allegedly, the way that Kouri planned, she goes to the housekeeper and is like, I need something stronger. So later, a couple weeks later, she and her husband are supposedly celebrating that she's going to close on another property the next day, which again, she has like no money.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's like pouring them a drink, and she says that she makes him a Moscow Mule, and they drink their Moscow Mules and they go to bed. And she, after they get in bed, she goes to their kids' room, one of their kids' room. They have 3, I think. One of their kids' room, and falls asleep and lays down with them. Leaves her phone in her bedroom, but goes and just lays in bed with the kid, which like makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, 3:00 in the morning, she gets up, and this is kind of giving Brian Walshe. She goes in there and she's like he's not snoring. She's like, that's weird. She's nudging him in the same type of way. And we know a lot of this in this case because she wrote notes to herself.
Yeah.
About, I guess, what she had told the police, or either what she wanted to tell the police. I don't know. There's one letter in particular called the walk the dog letter. We can read some of that in a little bit if you would like to. But she's making these notes to herself. So that's where this information is coming from. But she goes in there. She's nudging him. He won't wake up. Well, she gets her phone, and her phone starts registering movement. Then about 15 minutes after that first registration of the movement, she calls the police. She's like, my husband will not wake up. So they come. Obviously, he's cold. I mean, he has passed on at this point.
Yeah.
And so, again, the kids are in the house for this, too. So the kids are all ushered up to the playroom with, like, his brother-in-law and all of this kind of chaos going on. But his sister said that Kouri never really looked sad. I mean, it's a whole thing. Well, Kouri finds out shortly after that she is not the executor of his estate like she once was. It's now his sister because of several different reasons. But it's important to note they had a prenup. So if they just got a divorce.
Yeah. Things would have been fine.
She would get nothing. She would get no money from him. And remember, she's in $4.5, almost $5 million worth of debt. One time she overdrafted, allegedly, $350,000.
I can't even imagine.
I know. I can't even imagine paying for $350,000 worth of things. It's more than my house even costs.
It's a lot of money.
And you just overdraft that in a month. It's crazy. So because of this prenup, if they get a divorce, despite he owns like a couple $1 million interest in a stonemasonry company, and they live in $1 million house, if they get a divorce, Kouri's penniless, essentially, and in $5 million in debt by herself.
Not on trial for murder.
But not on trial for murder, and not on trial for financial crimes either.
Right.
So,
and like it makes sense why she might not be the executor.
Yeah.
Why she would not be the
executor.
It's so hard for me to say because there's a Pokemon called executor, and so it's like, am I saying like a real word?
No, you're right, executor. Correct.
But like, it would make sense why she is not in charge of his estate.
I like that switch up.
After he has passed on because of these financial issues, I'm sure it's not like unknown to him that this is a thing.
Well, it seems it's possible she had forged checks in his name. It seemed that there's some indication he may have known about that. From what his brother-in-law and sister said, it seems that he felt like something was off after the egg sandwich situation.
Yeah.
So there were all kinds of different signs that I guess led him to change that in his trust in his estate. So once she finds that out, she opens a lawsuit against the estate because she's like, I should be, I don't know, executor of the estate. I should be getting these things that I was supposed to get, whatever. So that's going on. in this time, this is the part that I think is the most notable, is that she writes a children's book. She writes a children's book about grief called Are You With Me? And it's about her husband and their children. And it's supposed to be comforting to their children of like this book about their dad who is now dead. Mm-hmm. She like goes on TV and talks about it. It's just all very strange.
Yeah.
To think that if the prosecution's case is true, and if in this world she did poison him with fentanyl, then turning around and writing a book about that is bold.
Yeah.
It's very bold.
I mean, it's one of those things where it would only be to sort of like,
try to throw people off.
Exactly. It's like a false front, really, like, oh, well, why would I kill my husband? I'm obviously really broke. Don't you see how upset I am?
Yes, I'm writing this book. My children are grieving.
Yeah.
And the relationships with her in-laws obviously deteriorated. So like they, after the whole estate problem and they were, I think, talking about where they were going to bury him or like planning the funeral or something, allegedly. And this isn't being brought into court because if something is too prejudicial, like makes the defendant look too bad more than it is probative, like provides more information to the jury, then like sometimes they'll just keep it out. But like allegedly she hit her sister-in-law at one of these and was arrested for assault after that because she was getting so upset about, I don't know. So Miss Richins has not had the best track record as of late. So she was arrested for the attempted murder of her husband for this egg sandwich, the aggravated murder of her husband for the Moscow Mule, allegedly, which they still haven't proven yet either, though. And then just a side quest assault for her sister-in-law, and then all of the financial charges of fraud as well.
Okay, so it's pretty wild. I guess the first question I have about this is, like, how did the egg sandwich stuff come to light? Like, this seems like a pretty like benign sort of thing, or not benign. It seems like this is the sort of thing that's just like an everyday sort of thing. And like, did he say something to like the in-laws, his parents about it, or like someone else in the family? Like, how did that information come to light? Yeah,
so this has been going on for years and years, like 3 years, I think now. Okay. So, and there's been a lot of talk about all kinds of stuff. From what I can remember and how I would imagine it was put together is they found fentanyl in his system after he died.
Gotcha.
And they're trying to blame it on weed gummies, say the weed gummies were laced with fentanyl. I don't know, but that's how the defense is saying they got in there. But they found it in his system when he died.
Right.
And he called his friends after the egg sandwich and was like, I feel sick. Like, he kind of described how he felt to them, and a lot of the ways that he was describing were consistent with what fentanyl poison can do. They know because she had some people flip on her, the housekeeper flipped. And so she told her, well, she bought fentanyl before that from me to do for, to put in the sandwich, whatever. So they pieced it together, and then they kind of got some additional information.
Gotcha.
To figure it out, I guess. But yeah, obviously they couldn't test the egg sandwich. They didn't test him. So It's not like it's all circumstantial.
Right. So like this charge came about after this other circumstantial evidence had come about. It wasn't like somebody in the family was like, do you remember the egg sandwich thing? She's responsible for that too.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
I mean, her in-laws were on the stand yesterday, and I can't imagine what they're going through because this is really, it is miserable. But they tried to make it seem like they weren't directly saying it's Kouri probably after he died. But they were kind of, I think it was clear that they had an idea and they were not hiding the fact that they thought that that's probably who it was. But
okay. Saying it without saying it.
Yeah. Yeah. So
tell me about these letters.
Yeah.
These notes.
There's lots of them. So there are lots of jail calls. There are lots of notes that she kept around her house. There's some letters that I want to say this one she gave or wanted to give to her attorney because, attorney-client privilege. If you give something to your attorney, they can't go and share it with you. They're a fiduciary for you. They can't go and share it with other people. But I think this one got out. Anything that comes in and out of the jail, similarly to the things that you put in ChatGPT or on the internet, it can be looked at. Every phone call is recorded. Every letter is looked at. So, like, if you're in the jail, don't write stuff down that's important.
Yeah, this should come as a surprise to nobody.
Yes. So we'll read the first couple of pages. And the first couple of pages of this are coming in into evidence.
Okay.
The rest of them aren't. It's not super relevant, but this is a pretty unfortunate thing. If my goal, I think, if you don't know, my goal is to be a criminal defense attorney. If I were her attorney, I would be looking at this letter thinking, well, crap. Yeah. What am I going to do with this? So this is called the walk the dog letter because it says walk the dog in all caps with 2 exclamation points on the top. And it says, but take vague notes so you remember. Skye, this was her attorney at the time, is saying even if the gummies have fentanyl in them from the prosecutor will say, I tried to put the fentanyl in the gummies. So Eric would have them. Stupid, I know, but that's what she's thinking. We will still test them, though. However, she wants to link Eric getting drugs. Eric is the husband. I don't know if I ever said that. Drugs and I can't read that word. From Mexico. So we need some kind of connection to Mexico. Her private investigator is doing some research on the ranch/cartel place Eric would stay at. Here is what I'm thinking, but you have to talk to Ronnie, which I think is either the brother or the boyfriend. There's too many people.
Yeah, a lot of actors.
Yeah. He would probably have to testify to this, but it's super short, not a lot to it. He will need to tell Skye at the meeting next week. And then she writes what he should say. Upon information and belief, in parentheses, just like they say, which they do. A year prior to Eric's death, Ronnie was over watching football one Sunday, and Eric and Ronnie were chatting about Eric's Mexico trip. So Ronnie is the brother. Eric told Ronnie he gets pain pills and fentanyl from Mexico from the workers at the ranch. Not to tell me because I would get mad because I always said he just gets high every night and won't help take care of the kids. There are pictures in my phone of Eric passed out on the floor and in the chair. Ronnie should have text from Eric talking about getting high as well. So I'm going to pause right there. What does this sound like to you?
I mean, it's not giving innocence, frankly.
It's giving whether or not this happened, this is what should be said.
Right.
Take vague notes so you remember.
Yes.
So that's the prosecution's theory.
Yeah.
The defense is going to be like, this is what happened. She just wanted to make sure everybody was on the same page. But anytime you ever want to make sure anybody's on the same page, it's not looking good for you already.
No, certainly not.
No.
Like, that's the thing. Like, if I was wrongly accused of a crime in which, like, that is, and you can tell me, maybe this is an assumption that I make that's incorrect, but, like, if I am somebody who is on trial for a crime and I'm innocent, would I not, like, would most of those people not be saying I was wrongly accused of a crime?
No, they absolutely would. Or they would try to say it was this guy, like third-party culprit. It couldn't have been me. It was them.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, like, to me, if I was in a situation where I was wrongly accused of a crime, I would be, like, freaking out. Not, like, in a sort of, like, a cold and calculated, like, this is what people need to say. We need to be on the same page. I would just be like, I'm innocent. Of course they're going to say things to exonerate me, right? Like, because that's just the way it is. Walk the dog means, like, do you know what walk the dog means as, like, a slang term? So it means, context, like, to take somebody through, like, a process of something. So, like, to lead somebody down. So she's leading them down. This is the story. Take vague notes so you remember. It's not, on its face, it's not a good look. No, I would say so. For her at any point. So she goes on to say, Eric told Ronnie he keeps the pills, the drugs, the fentanyl, and an allergy pill bottle in his work truck, so I wouldn't find them. Ronnie never told me about the conversation, which is okay. Eric finally told me and asked if Carmen could get him some. Eric never wanted anyone to know he had an issue, especially get caught. He always wanted Kouri to go down for him. When they traveled, Eric would put his drugs in Kouri's bag at the something right before they boarded. At the airlines right before they boarded. That way, if they were caught, Kouri got in trouble, not him. Once they got to wherever they were going, Eric would pull the drugs out of her bag, and it would cause a huge fight. Keep in mind, this is her who's writing this. She was pissed he would risk her going to jail for his drug use. He just
he just would laugh about it. Eric couldn't ruin his image that he had drug issues, so he would do whatever he had to do. Kouri has never done any type of pills, didn't like them, rarely would she consume THC only if Eric begged her because it was a special occasion. Reword this however he needs to make the point, just include it all. The connection has to be made with Mexico and drugs. Ronnie will have the messages to prove Eric confided in him about getting high. It can be short and to the point, but has to be done upon information and belief. LOL. They never found
little levity to the situation.
I know. They never found pain pills or fentanyl in my house because he had it in an allergy bottle in the work truck, and Cody emptied out the work truck within a week, so they were never found. So then she gives him instructions about, like, when she talks to Ronnie, meet him in person, don't talk on the phone or in the house, it could be bugged, all kinds of stuff. And then she says...
Seems like paranoid behavior.
Yeah. Tell him I need him to do this, bring me home, and then we will get those damn bitches.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Also... Then she later in this says something about how she's so mad at her sister-in-law, and if her mom could post pictures of her sister-in-law's kids on the internet, then that would make her mad. Like, just crazy stuff, which that part's getting cut out because it's like, that's like too, just too far, but like, why would you do that? Yeah, that's more of just like
an attack of character at that point, not as super relevant to the case. But I mean, like, you know, the thing, as you kind of were talking about the second half of all of that, like we have to prove the connection to Mexico. Mm-hmm. Like, it's one thing to talk about like somebody's relationship to drugs, you know, like, and it's one thing to like really try and like, oh, well, this was, you know, they did drugs with this person, you know, like that's how people talk about drugs when they're in trouble.
Yeah.
But like, we have to prove it. It's like, come on.
We have to tell the truth, which is this story that I am writing upon information and belief.
Exactly. So like it feels like a smoking gun, but I think there's probably like a different word for it, right? Because it's not like the smoking gun, but it's like it really
it's the barking dog.
There we go. It's the barking dog. You took the dog for a walk.
Yeah, now it's barking, baby.
Yeah.
The dogs are barking.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. At the end of this too, which is just funny, she asks if her mom will buy her a box of Crest white strips, open them up, put them in an envelope, and then like give them to me, which she's not supposed to have in the jail. So like, again, I think she didn't know at this time that everything was red because they would open up the envelope and find white strips and be like, you can't have those. So I don't think she ever got her white strips, but she's been drinking so much coffee in jail. Her teeth are yellow from coffee and tea all day. So hang in there. We're getting there slowly. You're the best mom in the whole world. I'm so lucky to have you at the end. And walk the dog.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing about how I'm feeling about this.
Yeah. Because we don't know how this will turn out. This is still ongoing, but.
Yeah. I mean, she seems like she did it. If you ask me.
Yeah, that could be your opinion.
There's a lot of signs pointing to, you know, guilt here.
I think it certainly feels suspicious.
It feels very suspicious, yes.
Yeah, I think that the prosecution in this case seems to really have a lot together. And I think it could be possible that they could convince, I think in Utah it's convince 8 people to agree that she did do this.
I will say that if she was guilty, like she did a lot more things right than some of these other, you know, people who like, you know.
She didn't take out somebody else. She didn't dismember him.
Yeah.
I mean, she does have a couple of things going for her, I suppose.
If her husband, if she is in fact innocent, then she did the right thing by
calling the police.
Or like 911 instead of dismembering and trying to dispose of the body.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
She did what a normal sane person might do in that circumstance. So
it is true.
While there is a little bit more gray area here, just because there's some normal behavior.
Yeah.
As well as the trial still being ongoing, you know, I have my doubts.
Yes, and certainly. And if you can't be convinced beyond a reasonable doubt, then there's no conviction. But I think in this case, I mean, there's a lot of information. And this is supposed to take weeks. Like, I want to say they thought 6 weeks or something like that.
Yeah.
So we're going to be here for a while. And they're just within the first 3 days have been lots of things that we thought we would know everything after 3 years of information, But there have been lots of things that are new. So,
well, let's just pretend that the listener at home is now really interested in this case, like I am. How would one of us go about like trying to follow like this case as it's actually actively happening in court?
Yeah, so you can watch it online. It's streaming on a bunch of channels. You can watch it on Court TV. I think it's streaming it on Long Crime Network. I think they stream it. I like to watch trial a lot with, like I said, Emily D. Baker. She was a former assistant or deputy. They're the same thing, just a different title. District attorney in Los Angeles, and she explains things and break things down. I like to watch it with her. Have some additional commentary.
It's kind of like a watch along type
thing. Yeah. And then there's another attorney that I really like to watch. His name is Peter Tragos. He's from Florida. His channel is called The Lawyer You Know. And he's good because he'll do a 1 hour summary or hour and a half summary at the end of every day. So like I get home, I get ready for bed, I listen to all the stuff that I didn't get to watch because I was doing stuff like this or at school. So there are lots of ways to keep up with it.
Well, maybe I'll end up being one of these people who like listens to this sort of stuff as they're falling asleep, because I listen to like podcasts all the time while I'm falling asleep. And who wouldn't want to fall asleep with, you know, some wholesome content like this?
Yeah, this is actually how I fall asleep most nights. So you will be joining me in that. It's nice. It's very peaceful. Court can be very quiet and very slow. So honestly, it's kind of a good thing to go to sleep to. But I think what we learned today is just get a divorce. It's also very hard to commit a crime these days. I'm going to throw that out there. So if you think you can do it, realistically, there are cameras everywhere. Your phone tracks you. Your car tracks you. Everything tracks you.
Your search history is not private.
No, your ChatGPT is not private. Nope. Everything you do can be seen or found by somebody else. So I'm not telling people to crime better, but I am telling people if you try to crime, you're being recorded. Smile, you're on camera.
Exactly. Yeah. And, you know, maybe I'll sleep a little bit better at night knowing that.
Yeah. Smile, you're on camera. Yeah. So thanks for listening to this episode. I know it was a lot.
It was fun.
Yeah. I hope you enjoyed listening to some things that are really graphic. But I mean, I think really interesting. Like I'm fascinated by how people think and
you know, like the last podcast that I worked on where we were doing like, you know, this sort of like crime analysis, it was actually it was for, I think, an HBO show about that Michael Peterson trial in North Carolina.
Yeah.
You know? And that's like old crime at this point. That was like in the late 90s, early 2000s.
But they still make documentaries about that case.
Exactly.
Which is crazy. I still can't get behind the owl theory. It seems so unrealistic. But like, I don't know what happened. And if I don't know what happened, he's innocent.
I was
He's not guilty.
To somebody who was an expert in the owl theory, which kind of like reignited my whole like interest in the trial. And it's so crazy to think about like if they do like documentaries about like these trials that we were talking about today, like is this something that can go for 6 episodes, or is it like, I mean, it's all right here in like the search history, like we got to know everything we need to know.
No, but there are, I'm pretty sure already documentaries about some of these. Well, I think Kouri Richins does have one. Yeah, well, they had her on 48 Hours.
Okay.
So, but there's some like the Murdochs, like I was talking to you about, who, the big lawyer with the financial crimes. There are several different documentary series, like an actual Hulu show, like where they just like a 6-episode cast actors like retell it. Lifetime did the same thing with, I think, 2 movies. Oh my God. But shout out, because the one who plays Buster in that is like my mom's friend's son, which is kind of cool connection, I guess. Good for him on the Lifetime movie network. That was my dream when I was a kid. I freaking love Lifetime. That's probably how I got this way, if you want to be quite honest. Like the reason that I enjoy listening to crime and talking about crime and like trying to understand how things like this happen is because my mom had Lifetime on all the time when I was a kid. I became completely desensitized to everything.
Yeah. I guess one final question for me before we get out of here.
Oh yeah, question for me. I've been talking the whole time.
Well, and you know, no, it's been really interesting to hear about all this, but like, I know obviously like you're in law school and like part of this was ignited by that early childhood stuff, but I know that your mom is also a lawyer as well.
She is. Yeah, she is. And she does a lot of court-appointed defense work, but she's also thinking about getting into some family law, which I feel like this whole episode was the intersection of both. If they had,
it seems, it really does. But like, did her getting into the law like further ignite you or like put you on the path, walk the dog as it were, towards
right.
this new career?
I don't know. I think that my mom has inspired me in lots of different ways to become the type of person that I am for several different reasons.
Shout out Anita.
Yeah, shout out to Anita. I think I was kind of planning on going to law school before she had gone herself.
Yeah,
she went.
That's why I asked, because I thought that she had gone back to school like later in life.
She did. I think she graduated in 2021.
Okay,
so she's been at it for a handful of years, literally exactly a handful. But I think it makes, more than anything, more than my mom doing it, inspiring me, I think it makes sense that both of us would do it because we are, I think, the same person. Almost.
Yeah, very similar like personality type.
Yeah, so I think it makes sense that we would both be interested in it. But
well, fun to get a look behind the curtain of your interest in the law. Fun to like go into the case files here.
Yes.
And like this is super cool. Like this is definitely something that like I want to do more of and like hear a little bit more about like court cases that interest you.
Well, I can provide you an update over the next couple of weeks about how Kouri Richins' trial goes.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're interested, make sure you're tuned into the diet.
Yes, absolutely. That's it for this dive. Thanks for being here. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at wavestream.media. And if you want a podcast like this one or totally not like this one, visit our website, wavestream.media. See you soon.